800 years, universities have cherished and championed the right of man to speak, experiment, and write freely in all the arts and sciences. Medieval scholars went to the stake in defense of these adventurous ideals of tolerance and freedom of thought. Oxford, Cambridge, Bologna, the Sorbonne, all the great seats of learning have grown venerable in their service. The stones of Australia's universities are not yet mellow, but they house the same imperishable traditions. Australian universities recognize their debt to the past. Their own true greatness lies in the future. New traditions, new achievements will spring from their growing generations of graduates. The first university to be set up in the rough and tumble young colony was at Sydney in 1850. The enrollment, 24 scholars. The staff, 3 professors. 3 years later, the new colony of Victoria also established its own university. By the turn of the century, there were universities in South Australia and Tasmania. By 1914, every state in the Commonwealth boasted its own. It's a far cry from the frock coats and parasols of the 80s to the student life of today. Now, not 24, but 30,000 undergraduates are on the rolls. Each comes in search of something that only a university can give. Specialized training for the professions. A breathing space to assess talent before the plunge into adult life. A chance to study the most precious and enduring creations of mankind. Time to capture some of the graces of living. Time to explore the mysteries of art and drama.
I'll cure him if God will, and not be minding the foolish words he's after saying this day to us all.
I'm ready now, Holy Father.
With the power of the water from the grave of the 4 beauties of God, with the power of this water I'm saying that I put upon your eyes. Glory be to God. Look what he's done.
There is drama, too, in a university at work. A professor of anatomy at the University of Adelaide prepares to address a class of students. Today, he will introduce them to the problems of human dissection. Problems calling not merely for technical knowledge, but for discretion, humanity.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasant duty to welcome you to the medical course proper. Now, for the first time, you will come into contact with the subject of your future studies, that is, man himself. The study in the anatomy department is concerned with the structure of the human body. Now, when you come to be engaged in dissection, you must remember you are very privileged persons, and that the people you are dissecting were once human beings like yourselves, each the center of his own little universe, just as you are today.
No less important than the study of our health is the study of our social and economic welfare. At Sydney University, a course on social history begins today. The first lecture is on the development of rural areas.
Well, I suggest we begin with the Murray Valley Development Scheme. Now, this whole area is a great agricultural asset, and for 2 reasons: the substantial body of water in the river and the fertility of the soils. Well, the expansion of this region has been promoted by the successful use of the water and soils, particularly where scientific methods of irrigation and agriculture have been used. The specialized knowledge of scientists, the plant breeders, the botanists, the entomologists, the soil chemists, accounts largely for the development and prosperity of this area. And may I remind you, as first-year students, of the important part played by our universities in educating these professional and expert men and women on whose work depends so much of the well-being of every farmer and factory worker and the ordinary family folk of the area.
The welfare of this and every district relies on other experts too. New towns as they grow need surveyors, architects, engineers, dentists and lawyers. New hospitals need doctors. New schools need teachers. From a barren, sandy wasteland has grown a great agricultural and industrial region, thanks to the services of these experts trained by our universities. It is on them that the prosperity and welfare of everyone in the community depends to a considerable extent. While students at Sydney are learning of the expansion of their country, a professor of physics directs research at the University of Tasmania into the life processes of growing plants.
In the sprouts of these bean seeds, there are infinitesimal electrical impulses. Now, these impulses seem to differ according to changes in the conditions of growth. With micro-manipulators, we bring tiny probes into contact with the seedling. Then, our apparatus picks up the minute currents of electricity, magnifying them many times.
Where do such experiments lead? A professor of physics humbly collects his raw facts. From them, theories will be built. Mysterious gaps in the storehouse of human knowledge filled. University research ranges from seedlings to cyclotrons. Looking back over his academic years, a professor at Melbourne, say, will see a startling expansion in scientific work. A technological civilization such as ours demands technicians to manage it. Their training is work for the universities. The new University of Technology of New South Wales, first of its kind in the British Commonwealth, is being built for this purpose. It will help to span the gap between science and industry, ease the strain on older universities. Every university has plans for extensions to keep pace with national development. Australia is growing and needs new regional universities for those students who live out of reach of the state capitals. At Armadale, on the great pastoral tableland of northern New South Wales, students go to the New England University College. Most students live at the college, unlike the majority of students at other Australian universities. They find that this collegiate life affords them a valuable introduction to life outside when they graduate. they come into closer contact with their tutors than they would in a larger place. On the other hand, they must obviously go without some things which only a big university can give. There is another regional university 400 miles away, at the national capital. At Canberra, you can take degrees in arts, law and commerce, or study for the diplomatic service. Students travel every day from Gungahlin, their hostel, to the college's temporary quarters in Canberra's civic centre. But the most important milestone on the road of progress is the new National University at Canberra, planned as the future focal point of Australian learning. Led by Professor Sir Douglas Copeland, learned men are being recruited from all over the world. Professor Marcus Oliphant, head of the Research School of Physical Sciences, supervises the construction of a vast nuclear research plant. Residential quarters are being built to a design which will catch the maximum of sunlight. This university, founded by the Commonwealth Government in 1946, will be unique in Australia because of its emphasis on postgraduate work. 4 research schools in medicine, social sciences, physical sciences and Pacific studies are already established. Problems of the whole Southwest Pacific region will receive special attention. The National University already maintains research units by invitation at the University of Melbourne, in New Zealand, and in London and Birmingham. There is a global significance to these new buildings quietly growing up among the trees of Canberra. But bricks and mortar alone do not make a university. It takes money too. Finance is the great problem for every university today. The Commonwealth Government has introduced a scheme allotting 3,000 scholarships to deserving students annually. Thus, the difficult burden of tuition fees is lifted from nearly half the students enrolling each year. But the universities themselves need more equipment, larger libraries, higher salaries for staff. How do universities obtain their funds? 56% of all income comes from government grants. From student fees comes 30%. Endowments and bequests, a rich source overseas, account for a mere 6%. Work must go on in condemned buildings. Funds for upkeep are inadequate. Plans for extensions are hamstrung. Makeshift accommodation cramps progress. Professors repeat lectures 4, 5, 6 times to shifts of students. 10 must work in a space meant for 2. Yet the question must be not how can we afford our universities, but how can we not afford them? Hear the voice of the founder of our first university, William Charles Wentworth, a century ago.
And, Mr. Speaker, from the pregnant womb of this institution will arise a long list of illustrious names, of statesmen, of patriots, of poets, and of heroes, who will shed a deathless halo not only on their country, but upon that community which called them into being.
Wentworth's words are being fulfilled. From the universities come many of our most responsible and distinguished citizens. Our graduates are contributing not only in their native land, but over the whole civilized globe, to every branch of human endeavor. Our universities are providing that skilled force of specialists, teachers, librarians, architects, statisticians, economists, geologists, agricultural scientists, and all those other experts indispensable to a growing country. More important, the universities are training a body of intelligent men and women who can think and work constructively on such urgent problems as food production, housing, transport, town planning, industrial relations. Most important, the universities are carrying on the worldwide academic traditions of our civilization, sustaining man's perpetual need for knowledge and ideas, transmitting the highest principles and ideals of humanity. The everyday life of every man, woman, and child among us is bound up with the activities and the achievements of the universities of Australia.